All right, so this weekend I am crossing an item off my bucket list. This weekend I am going to Cooperstown, New York to visit the Baseball National Hall of Fame. I have been fascinated with baseball history for most of my life. I have just devoured baseball history books. I love reading about particularly the early 20th century, 1940s baseball, and very much looking forward to this trip. I have tried for years to organize this trip with friends. We've never been able to get schedules coordinated, and this is one of the benefits of solo travel, is that you just get to do what you want to do when you want to do it, and I'm very excited for this weekend. So I will see you guys at the airport. All right, so going to be heading to Albany, New York via Chicago Midway. Looks like the weather's going to cooperate. Not really planning on doing much filming. And first things first, going to get some coffee. See you in New York. In the car in Albany, New York, on my way to Cooperstown. You can reach Cooperstown by flying into two nearby airports, Syracuse or Albany. The drive from Albany is slightly quicker by about 10 minutes. And I have to say, the drive to Cooperstown was one of the best I'd had in a while. I mean, come on, look at that sunset. I arrived at Cooperstown at night. I checked into the hotel room, watched a little bit of Parks and Rec, and then took a stroll to a nearby pizza place and grabbed a slice of pie. And then I called it a night. Okay, so we had a sleepy Sunday morning here in Cooperstown, New York. I am walking to the National Baseball Hall of Fame. Got in last night about 5:30, got dark around 4:30. It is an hour and a half drive from the Albany airport to Cooperstown. I am staying at the Railroad Inn, which so far I would highly recommend. It's a cool little hotel. The rooms were nice. The bathroom, the shower was very good. So I would recommend that. I am now walking into downtown. It's about a 15-minute walk from the hotel to the Hall of Fame. And it's a beautiful day. Inside. They recommend it starting on the second floor and then go to the third floor and enjoy the little movie that's shown on the hour, which is going to be in about 20 minutes. So let's dive in. After the intro movie, I stepped into the museum, which began with a chronological history of baseball beginning in the 19th century. The game began as a leisure time activity but quickly became a professional sport. King Kelly was sold for $100,000 in 1887, which is the equivalent of $3.2 million in 2024. But as a professional sport, the game was not open to everyone. It would be nearly 50 years before the game was open to all. One of the exhibits I enjoyed was this interactive game which pointed out the differences between 19th century baseball and the current rules. And as the owners made their fortune, the players felt left out and were tempted by gamblers, leading to the Black Sox scandal and the tarnished World Series of 1919. But it would not take long for that to be forgotten as a new hero emerged at that same time.
Both clubs riding each other, doing everything in each other's way. Well, I remember this one particular time when I was at bat. Charlie Root was pitching. And the first pitch ball.
Thank you, Mr. Chandler. I guess there are thousands of 13-year-old fellows like myself in this country who have heard about Babe Ruth ever since the first time they learned there was such a game as baseball. It's a great honor to be here, just to be able to tell Babe Ruth how proud we are to have him back in baseball, back where he belongs. And to know that Babe Ruth is going to be with us, kids, well, that's the biggest and best thing that can happen in baseball. From all of us kids, Babe, it's swell to have you back.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, the Bambino, the Sultan of Swat, Babe Ruth!
Yes, Babe Ruth does have his own corner in Cooperstown. But though the Yankees dominated the 1920s, other teams also enjoyed success.
The Hall of Fame has 3 exhibits for leagues outside of Major League Baseball. The first of which was for the All-American Girls Professional League, established in 1943 by Philip Wrigley, owner of the Chicago Cubs. As the name implies, this was a women's league that was meant to entertain the home front while the boys were away during World War II. The league featured teams primarily in the Midwest and actually lasted until 1954. But the league probably reached its height of popularity in 1992 with the movie A League of Its Own. But what I remember of that film is that there's no crying in baseball and that Tom Hanks set a cinematic record for the world's longest pee. After World War II, in the 1950s and 60s, the Yankees were back at it again. But other teams like the San Francisco Giants, the Los Angeles Dodgers, and the Milwaukee Braves also enjoyed success. As the 1960s turned to the 1970s, baseball expanded the number of teams, the uniforms turned to polyester, and the field became artificial. This was my era of baseball. Through the 1970s and 1980s, baseball had its share of labor problems between the owners and the players. This culminated in the players' strike of 1994, resulting in the cancellation of the World Series that year. But shortly thereafter, just as Babe Ruth had saved baseball from the Black Sox scandal, the home run race of 1998 between Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire saved the day. But then it was revealed this wasn't quite a natural occurrence. But life moves on. And I was a little surprised at how much of 21st century baseball was enshrined in Cooperstown. There was quite a lot of the modern game shown here. And another generation will say, this was my era of baseball. And as we go up to the third floor, we are thrown back to baseball nostalgia. The entrance to the third floor exhibit enshrined those lifelong fans of teams of a bygone era. The first part of the third floor exhibit honored baseball stadiums, the modern day churches for those who follow the religion of baseball. And I was very happy to see that the characters from Milwaukee's Sausage Race are enshrined in Cooperstown. Moving from the Sacred Ground exhibit, we went to Chasing the Dream, Hank Aaron's corner of Cooperstown. Hank Aaron is currently the Hall of Famer with the most career home runs. In 1974, he broke Babe Ruth's record of 714 career home runs, but along the way received racist death threats, along with letters of admiration from fans black and white alike. Leaving the Chasing the Dream exhibit, you move on to One for the Books, a highlight of baseball records, both batting, pitching, base running, and team records. Moving on to the Shoebox Treasures exhibit, one sees a lot of very famous and very rare baseball cards. And then I moved down to the first floor, which began with the exhibit, The Art of Baseball. And then to the Hall of Fame. And I almost missed this section, but behind the Hall of Fame up the stairs is a section on baseball broadcasters, both radio and television, as well as displays on baseball movies such as 42, 8 Men Out, and Moneyball.
All right, so I just concluded my tour of the National Baseball Hall of Fame. Not sure how interesting a vlog on the museum's going to be, but I enjoyed it. Cooperstown's a really cool little town. Lots of really neat houses. Downtown area is very cool. Be interesting. What would this town be like if this Hall of Fame was not here? Still might be worth visiting. So that's it for now.
When I was in Cooperstown, I did not see a Starbucks. I did not see a McDonald's. It seems this town really is a trip back in time. I walked past a Doubleday field, a baseball field that's used for exhibition games and Little League tournaments. This caught my eye because growing up in the American South, I've seen plenty of memorials for Confederate soldiers, but this was the first one I'd seen for Union soldiers. I made it back to the hotel, but then went back out to enjoy some Indian food. This restaurant was highly rated on Yelp and definitely worth it.
That was really good. So I had lamb malabar with some garlic naan. And I'm gonna call it a night and go watch some football. All right, so that's gonna wrap it up for Cooperstown. Checked it off the bucket list. I'm gonna call it a night and we'll be driving back to Albany in the morning. All right, so checked out and now have a rainy drive to the Albany airport. So Cooperstown's just really cool. Let's check out how cool this house is. So I'm at the airport and I mentioned that my flight the Southwest suggested I change flights due to possible delays in Baltimore, so I've rerouted to Tampa. Now it turns out my flight to Tampa is the one that's delayed, and I'm back on my flight to Baltimore, which is currently on the way, so I hope there's not going to be an issue. I guess the adage of you get what you pay for comes to mind flying Southwest, but I will say that the customer service and service I've gotten through the app of Southwest has been nothing to complain about. Been completely good, great, and I think I'm going to call it a wrap with this. So, thank you.